All right, so there was an email recently from Out of the Park Developments asking for a bunch of information on like how people found the game, how they play the game, what they like, etc. And one of the things I asked was suggestions for Out of the Park 22, and I figured I'd put some of my suggestions in this video. Hopefully, I'll remember to go back and answer the email too. And this is certainly not an exhaustive list, and these are just kind of came up with like 7 quick ones off the top of my head when I thought to sit down and record this. So the first, some of these are pretty simple. Some of these I think would be more complicated and maybe aren't realistic. But so here we're at the trade screen, right? And so I've got a trade that's close to being fair, and I want to say make this work now, right? So when I hit make this work now, and now I've got a list of players. And sometimes you get a list of like 30 players. This is a shorter list. But say there are players here who I want to compare some of the guys that they're asking about, right? And I click on this guy to check him out. All right, cool, got it. Let me go back to the trade screen. And now I have to hit make this work now again. Like just leave the list there. And so I can click on players in the list and go up and down the list and check them out. And the make this work now button doesn't come back each time. It just kind of like leaves that list. I would find that to be much less of a hassle. It's a small thing, it's a quick thing, but it's just kind of a pain. And it seems like it would be easy enough. I certainly don't know anything about making a game or how easy that would be to do, but it seems like it would be easy enough to have that menu stay. The next thing, pretty similar. I'm going to go to a player development email first. Let's go to my most recent one right here on the first, and say I'm scrolling down my player development report and I'm down here, and all right, cool. Oh, this guy improved this thing. Let me check him out. How's he looking now? All right, cool. And then I go back and you see I'm at the top of the email now. Like just leave it down here where I was. So when I'm scrolling, I don't have to then go down and find my place every time. And it's the same thing with the player development reports here, which are much longer. If I want to go down and find a report from like a little bit ago and go down, click on this guy, check him out. All right, cool, got it. And then I'm back at the top of the list, see? And so if you want to scroll way down here, then it's just kind of a pain to be able to keep track of where you were on the list. If it could just save where you were at the list when you hit the back button, same thing with the Mega Work Now, save the list that was there. That would be great. I feel like those are pretty easy ones that make a lot of sense. And so let's do another one. So I'm going to go to an outfield prospect I have here, Josh Kramer. I have a very crowded outfield prospect situation going on, and I don't have a lot of depth at first base. I would love a few of my better hitting outfielders. This might not be the guy, but I'm just using as an example. But I'd love to turn some of them into also having first base availability, right? Because a guy who can play above average left and right field and, an okay center field, you could put this dude at first base and he'd be able to play it. Like 9 out of 10 outfielders could play like a below average at least first base. But when you go to this guy and you look at his ratings, like he doesn't have any infield capability at all. And I understand that, like, you don't want every outfielder to be able to have the capability to learn like second base, third base, etc. If you give them an okay error and arm and range, etc. But I feel like there should be something here to differentiate to where this guy should be able to play first base for me, even if he can't play any other infield positions, because you can stick anybody at first base, basically, and he just doesn't have any range, and he'd make a million errors, and he doesn't need to turn double plays. He doesn't need much of an arm, but he just, give them error and range and leave their infield arm and double play way down, so that way maybe they can play first base okay, right? I feel like that would make a lot of sense. It would give you more options as guys are coming up through the system. Now, there are some guys who will have the infield ratings to do it, but I feel like every guy who can play all 3 outfield positions adequately or better should be able to be made into also a guy who is an option at first base. All right, so another thing that I think would be interesting, and so when you look at batting, when you go to the expanded batting stats, now, I know it's probably like impossible to get like the StatCast data to actually tie into the actual outcomes and have like average exit velocity and like, all that stuff actually tie into what happens in the game. I'm sure that would probably be like basically building a new game. But I'm curious if there's a way for both hitters and pitchers just to see like ground ball, fly ball, and line drive percentage. Now, that might get into a little bit much of what, like the exit velocity, et cetera, to determine what is a line drive and the launch angle, all that. I know that's not going to be in there, but it would be cool if there was a way to see ground ball, fly ball, line drive percentage. That way, with hitters and some with pitchers too, you're not just going by, I mean, basically, we're going by BABIP, right? Like that's what we're looking at when it's a hitter, like to determine if it's luck or not. And I just feel like baseball is obviously advanced way beyond that to where there's way better tools than BABIP now. And again, I know the StatCast data would probably be nearly impossible to work into the game and have it be meaningful. But I'm curious if there's a way just to break it down to like ground ball, fly ball, line drive. Sorry, I had to take a sip of water there. That would be pretty cool because it would give us another tool to evaluate players. So if there's a way to do that, I'm very interested to see that. The next, there are a couple parts of the game that I think have just kind of like lagged behind and haven't gotten a makeover in a while, which, like the scouting got like a big upgrade this year. And I like it. I like it a lot more. I think it's better. I think there are still some things that I wish were better about it, but I appreciate that they like put the time into making the scouting different and making the scouting less one-dimensional than it was. So this is with managers. Like, I don't know, like this reputation thing, does it mean anything? Does it not? I never know. I don't know if anybody really actually knows what the reputation means. I mean, I generally find that guys with good reputations or get better results, right? But I think there should be more going on here than just say the reputation and then the development influence and the relationships. I just think there's got to be a way so you know more what you're getting when you hire a manager than this. And I do think this does give you some idea, but really, like the only way you're really going to know is if you go into commissioner mode and go into the editor and look at the manager's skills. And there's some big variances sometimes, some big differences sometimes between like what it tells you about their reputation and their actual skill level. So, I don't think necessarily you want something where it's going to tell you 100% spot on, but if it could be closer to like how it is with players where you have scouts and, who tell you things, look at the numbers, all that, it would be cool. It's just a little simplistic, and I wish the stuff with the personnel was a little different. And so the other thing that I think has kind of lagged behind where real baseball is at now is player development. And, you have this player development budget, which some people say they don't really know what it means. I don't either. Or if it makes a difference, not really sure. So what I'd like is just to see, keep this budget, that's fine. But I'd like to be able to work on like specific things. Player development has come so far in Major League Baseball the last 10 years. And the game hasn't caught up yet and hasn't made some of those changes. Like, I'd love to be able to go to like this guy and be like, hey, let's get this dude a changeup when he was like, 22. Let's get him a below average changeup, like a 40 rated changeup. And then this guy would be a really strong option for a starting pitcher for me. And there's no way to do that. Or, teams now are about spin rate and, we're throwing high in the zone, all this stuff. Just, like, hey, let me get a coach that's good at movement, or with franchise hockey manager, you can, I don't know that game nearly as well, but I know you can target specific things. Like you can have this player work on defense, have them work on their physical game, have them work on that. It'd be cool to say, have this guy work on his movement. Okay, have this guy work on his third pitch. Or if you go over to hitters, right, like go to a hitting prospect and just be like, have this guy work on his eye, or have this guy work on his swing. Like he's a fly ball hitter, have him, fly ball tendency is a spray hitter, have him become, I want him to be a pull hitter. The things that teams are doing now are have pitchers learn to throw higher in the zone. It would be cool to have a little more specifics available there to be able to let the player development just be a little more in-depth and cool. Because I think that's one major part of running a baseball team now is player development. I mean, it's always been, but I feel like it's more and more specialized and hyper-focused now. Really good book about that called Future Value, which just came out, I think, this summer, which if you're into player development, I recommend reading. So that would be cool. The other thing is, I know every game that you play, as much as people who play out of the park play, you're going to master it, right? You're going to become if you play Mario enough, you're going to be able to beat Mario every time you play it, right? And I love this game, and none of my comments are meant to be critical to the point where I'm saying I don't like the game. I love this game, and I know that I need to put certain rules in place for myself now that I've played it enough to make it more challenging. But I think there are some tweaks that could still be made to make the AI better, like waivers. Like I actually don't use waivers in my game. Like I don't look at it. I don't claim players there anymore because it's just too good. It's too hard. It's too easy to sometimes find good players or prospects that get put on waivers for I don't know what reason. I feel like it could really. This is an exaggerated example here, but here's Ohtani. He was claimed on waivers by the Indians in 6/6/24, right? Now if you go up here, won the Cy Young in 21, 22, 23. So he was a 3-time defending Cy Young winner, and he was claimed on waivers of June of the next season. It was the Angels. It wasn't like they needed to dump salary and didn't have any other way to do it. It was the friggin' LA Angels. He'd put up 1.4 WAR in 13 starts in 2024, and batting in 2024 with the Angels, he had a 135 OPS plus. So he was killing it. No idea what ended up on waivers. He was one of the better players in the game. Again, I know it's not going to be perfect, and this is an exaggerated example, but it should be tweaked to the point where, like, me as somebody who's played the game for a while, I should feel like I can use waivers and it's not like cheating. It's the same thing with the Rule 5 draft. I don't use it really anymore. I guess I could use it theoretically to claim like a backup catcher and kind of police myself on who I grab, but there are way too many good players, and every year there are top 100 prospects in the Rule 5 draft available. Now they might be guys down in A-ball or AA, but there will never be a top 100 prospect available in the Rule 5 draft in the major leagues. So anyways, again, those are just some things about the game that I would like to see improved. I know some of it might be a bit of a pipe dream. And, again, I obviously love this game. I play it a lot. I think I've passed half the pandemic just playing this game and putting videos on YouTube about it. So obviously I love it. But those are just some thoughts that I have. Hey, if you got ideas, put them in the comments. Would love to, that's definitely not an exhaustive list of the suggestions I'd have, just the first ones that came to mind, but love to hear what other people think too. All right, see you.